It's my great privilege to introduce our 2018 commencement speaker, Robin Steans. Many of you know Ms. Steans because of her career supporting children in education across Chicagoland and nationally. She currently serves as board chair of the Steans Family Foundation, where she helps guide education and community development grants in the North Lawndale community. A longtime public school parent, Robin has spent over 20 years working on public school and education reform. Most recently, she served as the executive director of Advanced Illinois, a bipartisan nonprofit policy and advocacy organization working to ensure that every child in Illinois has access to quality schools and great teachers. She served as the issues director of the Small Schools Coalition and the associate director of leadership for quality education. She's taught in Boston, San Francisco, and Chicago before going on and earning her law degree. She currently is director of the Annenberg Institute for School Reform at Brown University and on the board of Ingenuity, an organization committed to strengthening arts programming in Chicago public schools. She's a trustee at the University of Chicago Medical Center and a director of the Chicago Public Media, WBEZ, and of Open Books. Co-founder and past board chair of the Celiac Disease Center at the University of Chicago, she helped found and directs the North Lawndale College Preparatory Charter High School. Robin graduated Phi Beta Kappa and magna cum laude from Brown University, received her master's degree in education from Stanford University, and attended law school at the University of Chicago. She is married and has 3 adult children, all of whom attended and graduated from Chicago Public Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Robin Steans.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here, and congratulations, class of 2018. I was hoping there'd be a little bit of a cheer, something that we're cheering about. And I understand that when you all leave here as graduates, it will be over 90 degrees, and that's okay because you will truly be fully baked. And I am well aware of the double entendre and double meaning, but more importantly, since you'll be working with young people, I hope you are. As you heard, I started my professional life as a high school teacher, including here in the Chicago Public Schools. So I know of what I speak when I say you have so much to look forward to as you leave National Louis to become teachers and principals and superintendents. Some of you will have the joy of tying wet shoelaces, even when it's not raining. Some of you will encounter clever children, like the one who patiently explained to me that if she sat next to her best friend, she would whisper to her quietly. But if I moved her across the room, she'd have to shout. It was my decision. Some of you, especially those who work with middle school students, will lose all sense of what is gross and disgusting to normal people. My brother-in-law happens to be an assistant principal at a middle school, so I get the stories. And over the coming years, you're going to meet mischievous children, unruly children, children of all stripes, and the only thing I'm sure of is you will have to rethink every baby name you ever thought you loved. And unless you only hang out with other educators, I can promise you this: you will be the most interesting person at every cocktail party and barbecue you ever attend. You can make people laugh, you can make people cry, you can raise the inspiration level or bring people down to tragedy, sometimes within the same story. The truth is, teaching and working with young people is the best job there is, hands down. You can cheer at that. It is also the hardest. Not only is it rocket science, it's harder than rocket science because you have to know the rocket science and be able to explain it to others. And you have to do so while managing a classroom of squirmy young scientists, a classroom of students who bring any number of very serious issues with them to school each day, issues that impact their ability to concentrate and learn. And you have to explain all that rocket science even if you have too many young scientists in the room and not enough supplies. And you have to make hundreds of decisions a day, and the only thing you know for sure is you're going to screw some of them up. because nobody can make hundreds of decisions a day and get them all right. But despite all that, I say again, teaching and working with young people is the best job there is, and never has that job been more important. The level of divisiveness in this country is at an all-time high. Now, Americans have never all agreed on anything, but there used to be much more common ground, and that common ground didn't fall so starkly along political and other fault lines. We are at a scary point in our democracy where we can't seem to agree on basic facts. Consider this. 82% of Democrats believe global warming, climate change, is happening. Just 34% of Republicans do. A similar split exists about whether global warming is caused by human activities. 89% of Democrats believe it is versus 35% of Republicans. And no matter where you fall, you have to be worried about that large of a schism. It's large and it's striking. It's striking enough that an unprecedented number of scientists have recently decided to run for political office to make sure that science and data don't get lost in the political noise. And as someone who believes in the power of information and education, I'm really glad to see that. But I think you all have made an even smarter choice. You have chosen to teach and lead and guide young people. You're in a position not just to pass along facts and figures and formulas, but to teach students how to think, how to ask questions, how to interrogate answers and information, how to become lifelong learners with a respect for knowledge and inquiry. You are also in a position to teach students how to behave, how to work with others, how to share, how to disagree respectfully, to admit when you are wrong, and then how to apologize, to consider other points of view, and generally how to be a contributing and caring member of a group. For learning isn't just about facts or even about reasoning. At its highest, according to Helen Keller, the highest result of education is tolerance. And we need a lot more of that right now. So, you have not just one of the hardest jobs on the planet, you have the most critical. You are heading out into a needier environment. As you spread out to schools throughout the region and state, chances are higher than ever that you will work with students living in poverty or learning English as a second language. Today, 45% of schools in Illinois now serve a majority of students who live in poverty. That's up from 13% just 10 years ago. And the gaps in outcome by race and income continue to be significant and daunting. Everybody here knows that third grade reading is a powerful indicator of later success. In Illinois, 55% of middle-class students demonstrate proficiency on the NAEP reading exam. Now, that's nothing to write home about, by the way, but less than half of that, just 20% of low-income students, do the same. No one here wants that to be a life sentence, but the research makes plain how tough the road ahead is for those 80% of students. You are in a position to change lives. You are in a position to change communities. To paraphrase Krista McAuliffe, it's one of my very favorite quotes about education. She put it so beautifully. You touch the future, you teach. Paul Farmer is a doctor and founder of Partners in Health, and he aspired to eradicate tuberculosis and disease in Haiti and beyond. And he repopularized through a book about his life, an old Haitian saying, "Beyond mountains, there are more mountains." And I suspect there will be days, months, or even years where it feels like that for many of you here. That you are tackling mountains beyond mountains, and that every time you successfully climb one, it just gives you a better view of the ones ahead. But there may be another way to look at it, and it reminds me of one of my very favorite stories. A teacher walks into the hall and discovers one of her students coloring on the wall. "What are you doing?" she asks her young charge. The student turns to her and says brightly, "I'm drawing God." "Oh, honey," the teacher replied gently, "no one knows what God looks like." With that, the child picked up another crayon, turned back to the wall, and said, "Well, they will when I'm done." So today, pick up your crayons, head to your wall. There is a lot riding on it. You touch the future. Good luck and Godspeed.